Hi, welcome back to another episode of Algebra in Words, the video series. We're going to continue our discussion on linear equations. In this episode, we're going to look at two types of problems. Well, two problems. In these problems, you're given 2 points, and you're asked to, using those 2 points, to figure out the slope-intercept form of the equation going through those 2 points. Now, there's going to be two parts to this process. One part is going to be finding out the slope, which we're going to have to use the slope formula, which I'll put up in a second. And the other part is going to be figuring out the y-intercept. Now, in some cases, the clue for the y-intercept will be there, and we won't need to do anything else. But in one of the two cases, we'll have to calculate it. So I'll show you how to identify and to do both depending on the situation. Let's start with the problem at the top. We have the point -1, 8, and 0, 5. So since we have 2 points, it's very easy to just plug those numbers into the equation, the formula for slope. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I went over this in a previous video, so this should be a repeat, but anyway, let's substitute the values in. So if we consider this to be point 1 and point 2, this would be y2, so we'll do 5 minus 8, and this would be x2, 0, minus -1, so since it's minus a minus, we can just make it plus. Alright, and let's just simplify that real quick. 5 minus 8 is -3 over 1. Okay, and when we put it into the equation, we can maybe change -3 over 1 to -3 only. But so let's write the equation for what we have. Y equals -3x, but now we need the y-intercept. Let's look back at the points and see if it's already there. Well, remember that the y-intercept is the point that the graph crosses the y-axis. That's always where x is 0. It's always where x is 0. So if we look at this point, x is 0. That tells us that the y-intercept is automatically 5. We don't have to do any calculations. We just put that in, and that's the final answer. Y is equal to -3x plus 5. So let's look at the next one. 3, -12, and -4, 2. Again, let's put that into the slope formula, where this is y2, and if this is -12, minus -12, let's just make that, I'm going to leave it like that for now, because I want to show every step. And x2 would be -4 minus x1 is 3. So let's simplify. We have 2 plus 12, which is 14. And we have -4 minus 3, which is -7. Okay? So we have 14 over -7. If we simplify that into -2, let's write the slope of -2x. -2 in front of x. And now we need the y-intercept. Can we look at these and tell what the y-intercept is? No, because there's no point that's given with 0 for x. So therefore, we have to calculate that, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to erase the board so we have a little more room. So since we need to determine the y-intercept, we can do that with a pretty easy calculation. Notice that I put the generic slope-intercept form y equals mx plus b on the board because we're going to use that. So if you remember that the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis at x equals 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to put 0 in for x into whatever we know. So far we have y equals -2 and we're going to put 0 in for that to determine what y equals. So when we do that, actually, we can't do that yet because we don't know what y would be. That's what we're trying to figure out. But there's basically also an easier way, which we're going to do right now. We still use the y equals mx plus b, but all we're going to do is substitute the values of one of the 2 points, you just choose one, into the equation, and then that'll give us enough to determine b. And it'll be the same no matter which point we choose. So just randomly choosing, I'm going to choose this point, and we're going to put 2 in for y. We already know the slope, which is -2 from here. We calculated that before. And we're going to put -4 in for x, and plus b, because that's the unknown in this case. And now we're just going to simplify by isolating to isolate b. So if we multiply these together, this is going to give us, I'm just going to rewrite the 2 is equal to -2 times -4 is +8, plus b, and we want to isolate b, so we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. And on the right, these cancel out to 0, and on the left we get -6 equals b, so now we have the y-intercept. -6, that goes into the equation, and that's it. That's the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give a share and a like, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please also check out my other videos on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll see you next time to continue the discussion.